I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and today we're going to deal with Essencology Q&A. I welcome you. I thank you for joining us. Our topic for today, the question, what is mensiological mutation? When we look at the term mensiological, the term mens or mensiological, it comes from the word mens, which is a Latin term, and this Latin term literally means mind. In Essencology, it reveals or refers to a living mind and all of its operations. It's not necessarily referring to the construct of the brain or even the neural networks or the neural pathways, but mensiology specifically deals with an investigative study of the mind in accordance to Scripture. And so the mind, according to the Scripture, is the literal soul, which is the individuality that promotes and that is the power of thinking, feeling, and choosing. And so when we talk about the mind and its tripartisan or trichotomic structure or being, deals with, again, the intellect, deals with the emotive state, and deals with the volition. Each of these aspects of the mind, the intellect, emotion, and volition, all are tiered or tertiary. When we talk about something being tertiary or tiered, we talk about it having the consciousness, subconsciousness, and unconsciousness. And so when we talk about, again, the mens, it is the literal mind, the soul with all of its capacity to think, to feel, to understand, to investigate, to study, to research, and to bring about an objective where one begins to resolve or clarify issues. And so when we look at the term mutation, mutation literally deals with an alteration of something's previous state. Typically, contrary to modern day belief, those who experience a form of mutation are not generally made stronger, but they're generally made weaker because mutations then occur as a result of something that compromises the physiology, the mensiology, and even sometimes the pneumatology. And so in Essencology, we understand that mutations are not always physical, but mutations can also be the realignment of a thought process, a realignment of what we call a mensiological perspective. And so can the mind mutate? Well, when you consider what normalcy is and what thought patterns and thought projections are, and what I mean projections, how we utilize our thoughts and we project them to others through communication, or we even project them into our subconscious or unconscious by simply thinking and meditating on these things. And so when we look at the mensiological mutation, what is meant in Essencology is that the mind begins to shift further and further away from the patternization by which God programmed it to think, by which God created it to think. Programming is simply the adding of the nature into a thing, and that programmed nature is that which causes a thing to be exactly what it is. And so programming to me is simply the establishment of a purpose, the establishment of the objective of the human mind. And so when we look at mensiological mutation, essencologically, it deals with a mind that can no longer embrace, understand, or operate in the normal guidelines by which God created the mind to do. How does this happen? Well, this happens specifically because other thoughts are introduced that cause the individual to promote specific specific ideologies and understandings. And so it causes the mind to shift. And in shifting, the mind, or the human, the individual, begins to adapt specific thought processes, specific ideals, specific modes of operating, until the thoughts no longer resemble human thoughts. And these thoughts no longer resemble human thoughts because in many cases they are infiltrated by pneumatic beings. We call them fallen angels and sometimes even demons. These things shift and warp the mind. They twist the abilities to understand, to think logically or critically, and they sometimes entangle the emotions to the point where an individual can no longer feel what is normal. We're out of time. I thank you for joining me. I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and this has been Essencology Q&A. God bless you. Until next time.